And let's get right to it. We didn't just have football. We had conference football. It was overseas in Dublin, Ireland. Ryan Helinski leading Northwestern into the season opener against the Huskers. Scott Frost, Pat Fitzgerald exchanging pleasantries. Commissioner Warren was there as well. And the Huskers looked great from the get-go. Casey Thompson, Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, that's a Texas transfer to New Mexico State transfer. Huskers up 7, less than 3 minutes in. They went up by 11 on the Thompson keeper there. Mark Whipple in the offense looking good. Later, second quarter, still an 11-point game. Helinski finding Ray Nairo, the former walk-on, wearing that number 1 jersey, which is so important in the Northwestern program. His first career touchdown. Cats down by 4, and then it's the Illinois transfer, Donnie Navarro.
Former walk-on.
As well, yes. Yeah.
Throw that out there.
Valpo, I believe, did
Yes.
start his career at Valpo.
You're keeping track of the walk-ons, Howard?
Yeah, it's my job.
17-14 Cats in the half. How about this play, guys? Casey Thompson, I mean, this is unbelievable, bro.
As impressive as it is, let's not forget number 97 showing some wheels right there, too, forcing the ball. But what an incredible play.
Finds Garcia Castaneda again, 58 yards after he looked like he was dead to rights. And later in the drive on 2nd and goal for the Huskers, it is Anthony Grant. JUCO transfer started his career at Florida State, which the Huskers back on top. Ensuing play from scrimmage, here comes Cam Porter trying to get the Cats back in it, and Porter fumbles the football. Marcus Buford forces the fumble. Caleb Tanner scoops it up, and Nebraska is in business again. Did not take them long on a 2nd and 10. Grant was impressive today, Howard.
Really did an outstanding job running through tackles, making guys miss, and you see him turn on the juice at the end to finish the play.
46 yards for the touchdown. Nebraska did not run it well, just 110 yards on the day. Remember, they were well over 400 against the Cats last year. Then on the ensuing play, Nebraska decides to go for an onside kick up by 11. Northwestern recovers, and Northwestern absolutely sees the momentum from there. Cam Porter out of the Wildcat formation pulls the Wildcats to within 4. And then to the fourth quarter we go, and it is Evan Hull. Went over 100 yards on the ground in this game. Northwestern over 200 yards rushing and over 300 passing. Just the 3rd time they've done that in a conference game under Pat Fitzgerald. Then the defense coming up big. Xander Mueller seals the deal with the interception, and the Wildcats win it 31-28. Pat Fitzgerald on how they got it done.
Well, you know, we talk about playing the Wildcat way, and that's to go as hard as you can for as long as you can. And we gave that away a year ago. And, you know, we just talked at length in the offseason about restoring our pride and doing the things that we do as Wildcats to win football games. And it's, you know, having great character, having a relentless work ethic, and it's just an unbelievable attitude. And I think that, you know, we didn't start off the way we wanted to, and we had chances to start faster, but the guys just responded. They responded boldly. They stuck together. And, you know, big-time players make big-time plays, and that's what we saw today. And I'm really happy for Jim O'Neill and our defensive staff and our defensive players. You know, we had a tough year last year. We had a lot of new faces and a lot of nuances, and those guys learned and grew up. And, you know, you see Cam make a huge play after something kind of, you know, crazy happened on a scramble play, and he fights back and responds later on in the game. The list goes on and on of guys, you know. So just really proud of our defense, to say the least. I'm really proud of our defensive staff, and I'm really proud of our defensive players.
In hindsight, didn't work, so anytime something doesn't work, you want it back. We've been talking to the kids about being aggressive and attacking this thing for weeks, and I think they did that. Part of it was we had a couple things that we wanted to be aggressive on. We had one earlier that we wanted to see if we got the look we wanted, and we got a look that was really good for it, and I made that call, so that's on me. You know, at that point in the game, I thought all the momentum was on our side. I thought if we got it, we could end the game. We've just lost too many close games, and you know, these guys need something to believe in, and we need to believe in ourselves as a team. I think they do. I don't think there's a guy in our locker room didn't think we were going to come win this game today. I'm sure they'll think the same thing next week.
It was the Wildcats that won the game, though, and there you see Northwestern celebrating Pat Fitzgerald. I mean, why wouldn't you put on the crystal football helmet?
I can think of a couple reasons.
Yeah. And that picture tells you one main
Well,
reason.
that's a good look. And how about your guy Cam
at the
Mitchell
footwork.
here?
I got a problem with this. Cam.
Look at the footwork.
You had an outstanding game today, but this was a bad idea.
Why are you hating right now?
I'm not hating. I'm just telling you. It's a bad idea.
You are doing the textbook hating.
I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you.
You want him to do the waltz? I mean,
What's he supposed to do?
Makes it his own.
I'm gonna leave it alone. I've said what I had to say. Don't ever do that again.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the game. Look, Nebraska is going to be a huge story, and we get that. There's a lot of discussion about Scott Frost heading into this year and heading into this game, and we will talk about Nebraska as the day goes on. But this day was about Northwestern, about the Wildcats going out, erasing what was a non-competitive season last year. I mean, they didn't just win one conference game. They got blown out in almost every single one of their losses, including 49 points against the Huskers. What did you learn about them today?
Well, you saw Coach Fitz say it, the Wildcat way. 10 years ago, when I was playing them, it was the Wildcat way. Strong special teams, disciplined football. They were not going to make mistakes. They were going to make you beat yourself. And unfortunately for Nebraska, they beat themselves.
Yeah, I think Fitz said it best in the press conference when he said we didn't start out well, but we responded. What was the narrative about Northwestern all offseason? The defense wasn't any good, and on and on and on. And Nebraska goes down first series. It looked like a Thursday practice where you're just timing up your offense, and then they respond. And then at the end of the game, or towards the end of the game, they run the ball some 18 or 19 times in a row, and they take over the line of scrimmage. So I think players always get most of the credit, and the Northwestern players deserve most of the credit. Yeah. But Fitz and his staff deserve a lot of credit as well.
Stand true to who they believe that they are. And I think that's important because they've also been able to translate that to their players, and their players buy into that. So when you saw things go bad, they were able to respond. Fitz mentioned that in the presser. A lot of his players responded after some bad things happened to them. That means that they are really listening and they are dialed in to what's going on from the front of the room. And they really did an outstanding job. And I don't think anything speaks louder than what they were able to do at the end of the game by running the football, relying upon that offensive line to take control of a game that we also heard Coach Frost said there were some times where it looked like they were more physical than we were, they being Northwestern more physical than his defensive line, and it showed.
Yeah, they did. I mean, again, 300 yards passing, 200 yards rushing. Northwestern only done that 3 times in the Pat Fitzgerald era in a conference game. They get it done here in the opener, and something they do frequently is win close games. Like, this is who they are. This is their identity. That is 49 wins now in one-score games, dating back to 2006 when Pat Fitzgerald took over at Northwestern. That is tied for the most of any power conference team in that time period. LSU, the other team that's won 49. And, Jerry, they got it done with a transfer quarterback who, kind of playing on that theme, Ryan Holinsky, struggled last year. He did not expect to be the quarterback last year. He expected to be the third guy when he came in after transferring from South Carolina. Got thrust in the spotlight. It didn't go great. It went great on Saturday.
314 yards and 2 touchdown passes. Let's look at 4 of the plays that Holinsky executed. And the first one is a seam route. The ball could have been thrown a little bit sooner. I think Donnie Navarro will agree with me because he gets hit right after he catches it. Great catch. Now, the next 3, I believe this is because all the talk about the edge rushes of Nebraska, and this is how you neutralize edge rushes. You don't put your quarterback 5 to 7 yards behind the center. You put him on the move. That first one was a 3-level pass. Here's another 3-level pass with a drag route coming from the wide receiver, and then get the back involved. Here's another pass to Evan Hull. So Mike Bajakin and the offensive staff, I think really creative lever, especially because they were expecting so much pressure from the edge rushes of Nebraska. They neutralized by getting the quarterback on the run.
528 yards is their most yards away from home since 2017. And, look, I mean, we can point, Fitz talked about the defense. The defense wasn't good last year. The offense wasn't good either. I mean, it just wasn't a very good team. Yeah. But both sides of the ball, I think you have to come away feeling like, man, they did some really good things. Lots more on Northwestern coming up. Let's turn our attention to Nebraska. And the Huskers started this game so well. Casey Thompson was phenomenal on that first drive. And, in fact, when Nebraska got 14 points in those first 3 drives, he was 10 of 13. And then after that, kind of pedestrian, guys, right around 50%. The yards were there, but 2 huge turnovers. Brock, what did you see from Thompson, the Texas transfer, in this one?
Well, we're going to see a handful of plays here, but the fact remains it's the tale of two halves with Casey Thompson. And even if you talk to Longhorn faithful, that was their gripe. It was the first half is great. The second half, things start to fall apart. Let's look at some of these first half plays. Perfectly scripted, perfectly thrown, the route double move, perfectly ran up top. A.J. Hampton Jr. is a great corner. They routed him up. They go up there and get it. Now, Casey Thompson's going to drop back. He's going to flash some athleticism because certainly number 97 isn't that fast. Oh, nope, 97 got wheels. That's okay. I'm going to plant my foot and just chuck this thing up because I know that coverage is blown. And sure enough, they make one of the most exciting plays of the entire game. Now, here's the problem. Look at the bottom. He's going to read the corner. Okay, outside leverage. That receiver's running inside. I got him. Let me put my attention to the Mike linebacker. As long as I throw the ball over him, this is a big completion. He doesn't realize that the cornerback has recovered. He leads his receiver too much, and now it is an interception. And you look down at that clock, it is the fourth quarter. It is the tale of two halves. The same way that we discuss Northwestern is who they are, a disciplined football team from start to finish. Nebraska football for these past couple years has been a team that can start hot but falls apart, and unfortunately we don't have enough proof that that has changed.
Yeah, no doubt. Northwestern just did just the opposite of what Nebraska does. I mean, their personalities are really just diabolically opposite, and it showed it as the game went on.
Coach Frost mentioned something in his presser. He talked about these guys need something to believe in. And they absolutely do, because it's tough. Because every time they get in a situation like this, something goes wrong. There's a penalty, there's a turnover, and they haven't been able to close these games out. And the only way, as you mentioned earlier, the only way they're going to be able to close these games out is to go do it. Right. They just have to do it. And that's why I say it's in between the ears right now, because they have all the talent in the world. There's no question about that. They need to believe that they can get over the hump.
Right. To get past losing close games, you have to win a close game. To get past losing a game because of special teams, you got to win a game or at least get a push with special teams. They did neither today.
How disheartening is it, though? You assume that you leave 2021 in the past. Look, we set the record for lost games by one possession. We bring in new coordinators. We have 15 new transfers, and it's the same thing. That's terribly disheartening.
Yeah, 7 straight losses now. All of those losses by single-digit margins. There has never been a team in the history of college football before this Nebraska team to lose 7 straight games, all of them by single digits. Had never been done. One other game today, Wyoming and Illinois. Season opener for Brett Bielema. I like the dramatic entrance from the Illini.
Dramatic.
There is Chase Brown, who would figure prominently in this game from the get-go. Had a nice return on the opening kick, Illinois did, and then Brown, 38 yards down inside the 15. And on the very next play, it is Tommy DeVito finding him in the end zone for the touchdown, Howard.
Very nice wheel route. He's wide open. The linebacker never had a chance.
To the second quarter at 7-3, more from Brown. How about 19 carries, 151 yards into the end zone there. And the Illini on top 14-3. Next possession for Wyoming. Andrew Peasley, who had a rough day, was 5 of 20 for 30 yards. Devin Witherspoon with the interception for the Illini and brings it back deep into Wyoming territory. Illinois would kick a field goal from there on top 17-3 at the break. Brock, you hate to see this. Josh McCray was so good as a true freshman last year, going down here.
And just to be able to take some reps off of your star guy in Chase Brown. Next man up, unfortunately, we pray that McCray is back at some point this year.
He did not return to the game. Later in the third, it is DeVito to Pat Bryant. DeVito 27 of 37, a $192 and 2 touchdowns. 12 different Illini caught passes today. Brown capping off his day with his 3rd touchdown, 38-6. Illinois the final. Brett Bielema's team is 1-0. The coach with Rick Pizzo.
Brett, always nice to celebrate victory with the family. What are you most pleased about today?
I think the execution in the second half was a lot cleaner. The first half got a little sloppy with some penalties, but ball security, and then we got a lot of freshmen that played. I think we might have played 8 or 9 freshmen. I love the way the program's headed.
Chase Brown's a special player, isn't he?
He is very special. I think the progress he made from last year at the end, he's playing behind his pads, understands the game a little better, lets it come to him. I've had a lot of good running backs. I think he could be a great one.
How would you assess Tommy DeVito's first start?
I like it. I think he come out guns a-blazing, missed one or two throws in the first half, but I thought he handled the composure, did a really good job at the line of scrimmage, got us out of some bad plays. When we needed to put it in high gear in that third quarter, he was able to execute and make some good things happen.
Lastly, what's the focus as you get ready for a short week on the road, Big Ten opener against Indiana?
Coaching cliche, right? The biggest improvement is from game 1 to game 2. That's what we're banking on. Have a tremendous amount of respect for Indiana and what they've done, and Coach will have them fired up. They've known their opener, right, for a long time. So we got to get ourselves, we'll take away a Monday of normally a day off. We'll work right away. So it's a short week, but we should get all our preparation in.
Another week 0 win. Enjoy it, Brett. Thanks.
Appreciate it. ILL.
That game with Indiana is on Friday night, but let's focus first on the win over Wyoming, their 24th win in the last 25 home openers. And Howard, this was a balanced effort. It was balanced offensively, rushing and passing over 200 yards. The defense stepped up in a huge way. What stood out to you?
I think when you look at it from an offensive standpoint, that's where the team needs to really be excited, because I thought a lot of things that they did schematically really are going to pay dividends down the line. When you talk about crossing routes, really putting defenses in a very difficult decision where it becomes incumbent on your quarterback to make the right reads. You saw that both quarterbacks were able to do that today.
I think the place where it wasn't balanced was the first half to the second half, which is a really good sign. And Brett Bielema keeps saying one of the reasons he's playing in week 0 is you make your most progress between game 1 and game 2, and he's got Indiana this Friday as a conference game. But throwing the 12 receivers, Rever, as you said, that's really progress. I think that in year 2, game 1, he has got 2 great coordinators. He's got the program set the way he wants. And today's win was not only about today, it was about this whole setup playing game 0 before you play Indiana.
And it's setting up for years to come. One thing that Coach Bielema said while he was talking to our buddy Rick Pizzo was 8 or 9 freshmen played. Compare that to a year ago where they led the country with 22 super seniors on the roster. He publicly said, my 2 deeps aren't really there yet, about halfway through last season. And now we got 9 freshmen on the field. Forget this year, the future of Illinois football. It looks bright.
A lot to feel good about. The defense was the story to me last year. That was the group that just made a huge jump last season under Ryan Walters. Yeah. It's tough to gauge. Look, Wyoming had a lot of turnover personnel-wise, and so we don't know exactly what they're going up against here. But Wyoming, 1 of 12 on third down. Howard, they threw for 30 yards in the game. There's a lot to feel good about defensively for Illinois.
So I think it's important that you make that distinction that this is a team that they should have gone out and dominated. So when you play a team like that, you need to go out and show it. And defensively, without question, they were able to do that. Now, they left some plays out on the field, a couple of interceptions that they're going to need down the line. So they have to be able to make those plays. But when you look at the way they played defense today, they owned the line of scrimmage. They took the ball away when they needed to.
And it's Indiana, Virginia, Chattanooga. Those are 3 matchup opponents. I mean, I don't know a lot about Virginia, but we saw Indiana, and I think we know what Chattanooga is like. And so, again, I hate to beat the dead horse to death, but this game 0 has really set them up for momentum.
Yeah, 100%. Now, Wyoming lost both of their top quarterbacks from a year ago, as well as their top receiver. But good defenses beat okay offenses. Great defenses suffocate them. That was a suffocating performance. They're taking the next step.
Was indeed. Just 1 tackle for loss. I mean, I don't know if that's something that maybe concerns you, but overall, again, I think you're nitpicking with the Illini. This is really everything you wanted to get out of game 1. The offense looked good. You found your quarterback. You're balanced, and, man, the defense was lights out. So we'll see how they fare Friday against the Hoosiers.
New staff offensively, the mechanics of calling the plays, working together.
Creative, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. 38 points. Remember, they only hit that mark once all of last year, and that was in the season finale against Northwestern. They get there today, and again, the Illini feeling good at 1-0.
Thompson looking to the right, quick throw through the hands of the receiver and intercepted by the Wildcats. Xavier Mueller comes up with a pick on the deflection, and the Wildcats are going to leave Dublin, Ireland 1-0.
Great call there from Mr. Cat, Dave Ennett, 31-28, Northwestern over Nebraska. Post-game reaction from the Wildcat players, starting with Evan Hull.
Our team is built for this. and we've been training all off season to respond to adversity. And there was blows back and forth, and so but we didn't flinch. And I think at the end of the day, we can look back at our off season as what really prepared us for this game. And so every time they got up or they got some momentum, we took a step back and understood that this is a 4-quarter game. We kept just fighting through it.
Yeah, I think what Evan said, we didn't flinch. And I think the coolest moment to me tonight was preseason. We talked about when you guys played Iowa, and you guys were down, what was it, 17-0 or something like that,
yeah.
A couple of years ago in 2020. And, I wanted to be, not in that situation, but I wanted to have that feeling of, man, the guys on the sideline during that Iowa game, they knew they were going to come back. They knew everything was going to be fine. And tonight I looked at the scoreboard, I saw 14-3, and I was like, oh, man, this is great. This is going to be great. We're going to be just fine. And before you know it, hit Ray on that big ball. He caught it, scored, and then we just kept rolling from there. And I kept talking to Evan all night. I said, hey, man, it's me and you. Let's go lead him. Let's put our names in the books. Let's go lead him. And then everybody else responded. And, man, there's nothing like playing those games. It felt good.
We know how to win and compete at championship levels here. And, Ryan, at this time last year, had only been here for a handful of practices. He had to move. His family had to move. There was a lot of new and a lot of change. And I don't want to speak for Ryan. I'd rather have you ask him. But he was just so focused and disciplined from January all the way through. I saw him today, and I said, how you doing? He's like, I'm getting excited. And I go, just chill out and go grip it and rip it, man. And I thought he was really poised, and it's the credit again goes to him. He got it with Jay Hooten, with our strength staff, and Peter Ritz and our dietitian staff. And just really, as you guys saw, he's just totally changed his body. He found this place called the weight room, which is a pretty important place for everybody. Listen, challenges will go up as we move forward. But, I think all in all, I think you saw the Ryan Helinski that we recruited, that we expected to see. And the credit goes to him because he put the work ethic in to learn the offense, to master it. And now he's just got to keep taking steps as he moves forward. But I'm very proud of him. I'm going to watch the tape probably some point on Tuesday. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to have some good, clean Irish fun tonight and tomorrow. So I'll get to the tape when I get to it.
One of the things that will jump out on that tape, the decision by Scott Frost to go with an onside kick with his team up by 11 and seemingly having all of the momentum in the game. The Wildcats recovered, took it in for a touchdown, and really never looked back from there. Let's get some more post-game reaction, including Scott Frost elaborating on that decision.
In hindsight, didn't work. So anytime something doesn't work, you want it back. We've been talking to the kids about being aggressive and attacking this thing for weeks, and I think they did that. Part of it was we had a couple things that we wanted to be aggressive on. We had one earlier that we wanted to see if we got the look we wanted, and we got a look that was really good for it. And I made that call, so that's on me. At that point in the game, I thought all the momentum was on our side. I thought if we got it, we could end the game. The way we were playing, I felt at that point like we had a really good chance of winning the game, and I felt like maybe we were the better team. And you can't really foresee them scoring 14 straight and us sputtering after we'd played well to start the second half on offense. So, again, those are excuses. If I had it over, I wouldn't make the call. We've just lost too many close games, and these guys need something to believe in, and we need to believe in ourselves as a team. I think they do. I don't think there's a guy in our locker room didn't think we were going to come win this game today, and I'm sure they'll think the same thing next week. Well, you got to win in this business to keep your job. That's the way it is. I love Nebraska. I love the state of Nebraska. I love these fans that sacrificed to come over here. I want to thank them. The guys, the coaches, they did everything the right way leading up to this. I wouldn't change a thing about the way we handled the travel. The kids were dialed in. I give Northwestern a lot of credit. Again, they were more physical than us, I thought, up front at times today. Probably more than we were, and that was probably the difference. And we got to get this turned around. The good thing about having some new guys is we added a lot of talent to the team, Casey being one of them. There's a learning curve in this league, and, I've gone through it. You just can't be -1 in turnovers and make a bad decision as a head coach on an onside kick and give up a cheap one. These games are all decided by 2 or 3 plays, and there's going to be 9 more of them this year like that, and we have to make sure we're on the right side of those plays.
If things don't start going in the right direction, is there any point in time where you would consider stepping down?
No, absolutely not. I love Nebraska. I'm going to fight with the guys as long as I can fight.
Pretty pointed question for your news conference 1 game into the season, but that is the story. Now Scott Frost 15-30 as the head coach of the Huskers. They head home. We'll have them on our air coming up next week against North Dakota. You see the rest of the non-conference slate. It's Georgia Southern, and then, of course, a big one with Oklahoma as well before they dive back into conference play. Jerry, anything you heard there as you listened to Scott Frost? It's always difficult for a coach after a disappointing loss. I mean, you do think about, as he said, all the people that flew all the way from Nebraska or wherever they came from to support the Huskers. It is tough for those people to go home with an L, and it's tough for him to go home with an L.
Well, he talked a lot about the outside kick, which he had a responsibility to everybody to explain. He said they looked for a certain alignment, they got it, and he made the decision, and they didn't execute it. So, had that worked, they would have said, hey, he's finally calling an aggressive game. To win a close game is going to be the only thing that's going to bring them past winning close games. To win a game or hold serve with a kick game is going to be the only thing where they're going to feel like their kick games are resolved. The one thing we haven't talked about all day, they rushed for only 110 yards. And when Mark Whipple came on board, he is known as a pass coach. And Scott was supposed to be in charge of the run game from what we heard. I don't know that it's fact. And they were going to marry the two things. I don't believe that Nebraska can win enough games throwing the ball as much as they threw it today and only rushing for around 100 yards. I don't think that's the winning formula.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's interesting is that he talked about being aggressive. They've been talking about they're going to continue to be aggressive in these games. The players want them to be aggressive. And he made a call, right? An aggressive call. And it didn't work out. But had it worked out, right, his players are fired up about it. So I think they still probably absolutely believe in him. And he's going to continue to coach this way because he wants to be aggressive, because he's trying to get these guys over the hump and not be conservative. It's hard, right? Listen, you make a call and it doesn't go right, everybody's second guessing. You make that call, it goes right, now all of a sudden people are singing your praises. And that's one of the things they have to continue to work through as a coaching staff.
But they rushed for 110 yards, but they can't stop Northwestern's rush at the end of the game. Is that carryover from camp? Is that because,
they're not seeing it?
It wasn't a point of emphasis. They're not seeing it at camp. And so, I don't think there are problems to solve offensively because Mark Whipple lives in Lincoln, Nebraska.
What disappointed me about Coach Whipple is you look at that first drive, and they tested the Northwestern DBs. They tested their best DB, and they scored. You are Mark Whipple. You are known for airing it out. Clearly, Casey Thompson has chemistry with Marcus Washington, his former roommate at Texas. Clearly, he has chemistry with Trey Palmer. Keep chucking it. They stopped chucking it when Northwestern's best DB left the field. Keep chucking the football. If that's who you're going to be, you're clearly not going to run the ball, even though Grant was running over some people. I would have ran it 30 more times if I could have, but that's not what Whipple wants to do. Keep chucking the football. I felt they lacked the aggression that Coach Frost was talking about.
When was the last time you watched Nebraska play where there wasn't one decide play where the quarterback ran the ball? I mean, how do you line up in that formation without a dominant tailback and expect to run the ball, without the quarterback being some threat at least twice a quarter?
I would say this. When you have early success, a lot of times on an offensive side, it's because those plays were scripted.
Yeah.
And you know exactly what's coming. You know what you're expecting. And then all of a sudden, people on the other side who are getting paid too, and I'm talking about the coaching staff, they start to make changes and adjustments and different things. And now all of a sudden, things don't work as well. And maybe that's the issue when you talk about first half versus second half production from the quarterback.
A lack of identity. A definite lack of identity.
It's interesting when you're facing a team you ran for 427 yards on a year ago.
You don't run.
You absolutely ran them over. Now, let's give some credit. When they did try to run, other than absent the one big run by Grant, Northwestern was pretty good against the run. So, and that was something that Pat Fitzgerald told us when we were there. He said, we added bodies in the portal up front, and we're going to be better. But still, I hear what you guys are saying. You ran for.
And I'll say this: after Coach Fitz is done having his clean Irish fun, and he finally looks at the tape, even that big run, he will look at that and say he saw a linebacker miss a tackle, he saw a corner miss a tackle. It wouldn't have been the big play that he saw.
Right. Well, there's going to be a lot of discussion around the Huskers, that's for sure, coming up here in the next week, leading up to that game against North Dakota as they head home at 0-1. An interesting announcement out of Ann Arbor on Saturday. Jim Harbaugh tweeting out that both of his quarterbacks played great in camp, and he feels like they have two quarterbacks that could win a championship, and so he has decided that he will start Cade McNamara in the opener against Colorado State, and then J.J. McCarthy in the second game against Hawaii, and then after that, they will make a decision going into week 3, which is against UConn, who the starter will be, who the backup will be. Howard Griffith.
Why, Rever?
Why do I ask you first?
Yes.
Because Brock and I voted that you should go first.
Yeah, I respect your opinion immensely.
Okay.
And I want to know what you think.
Hey, listen, I thought what Michigan did last year and the way they handled this quarterback situation was perfect. It just really happened, and it worked out for them. I think this is very unusual. I've never heard of such a thing. But one of the things that happens when you have a schedule like they have that's leading up to this.
Cushy?
Yeah, it's going to allow you to do that. I just find it tough. Does that mean that JJ's not going to play in the first game at all? And we're going to wait and just put the game plan in for you in game 2? Or is McNamara not going to play in the second game? It's clear that that's what he wants to do, but this is going to be very interesting. If he pulls this off, congratulations. But I think this is a very difficult situation, not just to put two quarterbacks in, but I think to put your team in as well.
Well, part of it could be how to manage your roster now with the transfer portal. I think a lot of people are thinking about that. But if this was any other position, if this was about the left guard or the right tackle, what you would be saying is that second guy closed the gap with the first guy. And we're going to start the right guard week 1, another right guard week 2, meaning they're both the same player. And if one started last year and the other only came in sometime, and that dynamic has changed, the only thing you could say that would be fair is JJ got better. And Cade maybe didn't get better. I mean, if you did that at every single position, you'd have different lineups every week. So it might be just how to manage quarterbacks.
Well, this is certainly about JJ. This makes it feel like when you're at a hotel and there's no 13th floor because they think it's unlucky, so there's a 14th floor. But if you're on the 14th floor, you know you're on the 13th floor, right? Well,
Coach doesn't know that, though. He doesn't know. He actually thinks
okay. Well, in comparison, you're saying that there's two starting quarterbacks, but one of them starting the first game. So that's your starting quarterback. This is so messy. Cade McNamara is your starting quarterback. This is about JJ and whether you're keeping him happy.
Well, so what if they would have reversed it? Then you'd say JJ McCarthy's.
Yes, 100%. There is a season opener. There is a season opener for a reason, and you are deciding who is representing the University of Michigan Week 1, Play 1.
And
he's a starter.
And since they didn't do it last year, hasn't JJ gotten better?
That's what we have to find out. But to Howard's point, Howard, to your point, and where I think this gets messy is if Cade goes out there and throws an interception on the first 4 series, so does JJ go in? And now it just brings more questions than answers. I hate it.
Here's the thing. He knows his team, obviously. I mean, he's dealt with this quarterback situation now for over a year, right? He knows what he needs to do to keep both people happy, and he's going to go make that decision. And ultimately, he's going to put the best guy in charge of that team, be the starting quarterback.
But the other thing is, Jim is a little different. And
yes, he is, and we love him.
And he doesn't disappoint.
And we love him for it.
He doesn't. He delivers
something to talk about.
Absolutely delivers.
Nobody knows what Jim Harbaugh's thinking with Jim Harbaugh.
For the whole D block, and we appreciate it.
I got to tell you, it's totally fascinating. And then are the opponents equal, right? Like, how are you, right? Like, I don't know. I think Colorado State, maybe they're better than Hawaii. Like, how are you?
This doesn't solve anything, I guess, is my gripe. This
feels like this
solves nothing.
It pushes it down the road, though, right? Kick the can down the road a little bit.
Well, now you've given both players game reps
Right.
to manage a game, an entire game, minus, hopefully there are no injuries. But as Brock has said,
We were talking about this today. Cade McNamara's got 3 years of eligibility left, including this year, right? So if you name him the starter going into this year, if you're J.J. McCarthy, you say, well, what am I hanging around for?
How about we've been talking all day? You get better from game 1 to game 2. If I'm JJ, I got the better 10 guys.
You were better.
Well, both of them are going to light it up. They should light it up.
They better.
But now what? Both of them go out there and throw for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I got one
now
thing.
What?
What if all they do is run the ball in these games?
I would love
That'll be perfect.
Yeah. Be a lot of audibles at the line of scrimmage. I'm going to check us into a pass play.